Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
So, with all of you again on the Bhagavatam Shrimad Bhagavatam
Hare
class.
Krishna.
Auspicious Sunday. We have started a new chapter. Last time we met, it was chapter 8, titled Questions by King Parikshit. And we covered first 5 shlokas, and today we'll be covering from shloka 6 onwards. So we can start straight away. So, Manjunath Prabhu, if you like to read shloka 6 translation and purport.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare Krishna.
Text 6, translation. A pure devotee of the Lord, whose heart has been cleansed by the process of devotion service, never relinquishes the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna, for they fully satisfy him. As a traveler is satisfied at home after a troubled journey. The purport. One who is not pure devotee of the Supreme Lord Krishna is not completely cleansed in the heart, but a perfectly cleansed person never quits the devotion service of the Lord. In discharging such devotion service as ordered by Brahmaji to Narada in the preaching of Srimad Bhagavatam, sometimes the representative of the Lord engaged in preaching work meets various so-called difficulties. This was exhibited by Lord Nityananda when he delivered 2 fallen souls, Jagai and Madhai. And similarly, Lord Jesus Christ was crucified by the non-believers. But such difficulties are very gladly suffered by the devotee in preaching, because in such activities, although apparently very severe, the devotee of the Lord feel transcendental pleasure because the Lord is satisfied. Prahlada Maharaja suffered greatly, but still he never forgot the lotus feet of the Lord. This is because a pure devotee of the Lord is so purified in his heart, he cannot leave the shelter of the Lord Krishna in any circumstances. There is self-interest. There is no self-interest in such service. The progress of cultured knowledge by the jnanis or bodily gymnastics by the gopis are ultimately given up by the respective performers. But devotee of the Lord cannot give up service of the Lord, for he is ordered by the spiritual master. Pure devotees like Narada and Nityananda Prabhu take up the order of the spiritual master as the sustenance of life. They do not mind what because of the future lives. They take the matter very seriously, as the order comes from higher authority, from the representative of the Lord or from the Lord himself. For example, set herein is very appropriate. A traveler leaves home to search for wealth in far distant places, sometimes in the forest and sometimes on the ocean, sometimes on the hilltops. Certainly, there are many troubles for the traveler when he's in such unknown places. But all the troubles are at once mitigated as soon as the sense of family affection is remembered. And as soon as he returns home, he forgets all the troubles on the way. A pure devotee of the Lord is exactly in the family of tie with the Lord, and therefore he understands that he is discharging his duty in full affectionate tie with the Lord.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Translation again. A pure devotee of the Lord, whose heart has once been cleansed by the process of devotional service, never relinquishes the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, for they fully satisfy him as a traveler is satisfied at home after a troubled journey. Hare Krishna. So this shloka is recited by Parikshit Maharaj. This chapter is titled Questions by King Parikshit, where he'll be asking many questions. But before he's asking question, he is glorifying the devotional service. So in this shloka, he is glorifying the bhakti and bhakta, devotion and devotee. So here is mentioning that that anybody, a pure devotee of Lord, whose heart has once been cleansed by the process of devotional service, never relinquishes the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna. So devotee whose heart is cleansed by devotion, by bhakti, and because that heart is completely cleaned, he's so much, he is in natural position of love of God. For that devotee, he has no other aspiration in his life other than to please the Supreme Lord. And in that effort, in that mood, he offers Lord various services. And in that services, however much difficulties come, uh, he is not at all deterred by those difficulties. Uh, he just keeps on going on and on and on, just for one purpose. How can I satisfy the Supreme Lord, my dear Lord? Hmm. So Prabhupada mentions here that the devotee of the Lord, uh, uh, one of the activity, or not one of the activity, the most prominent service that a devotee does is the preaching activity. Preaching activity is nothing but the sharing of the love of God with the fellow living entities, fellow human beings, and inviting them and encouraging them to give up the suffering condition of this world and engage in devotional service of the Lord. So it is the most beneficial activity, most uh, philanthropic activity you can ever do in the life is to preach the glories of the Lord, spread the message of the Lord. This is the great activity a devotee can do. Devotee does so many services. He offers nice food to the Lord. He dresses the Lord. He sings for the Lord. He he does so many services. But one of the most dear service that Krishna wants from his devotee is to spread the message of love of Godhead to all the living entities. And this is the most difficult thing to do. But the devotee, he always does that. He always never steps back from that service of preaching. And here Prabhupada mentions the couple of examples. One of the Nityanand Prabhu. Nityanand Prabhu is none other than Balram. When he came with Lord Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya ordered him to go to every person, every house, uh, and give this message of love of Godhead to them. And on that journey, he met this Jagai and Madhai, a very vicious person. This Jagai and Madhai are none other than the Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, the Ravan and Kumkarna, Shishupal and Dantavakra. They were great demons in their past lives. And they came again in the Gaura Lila as Jagai and Madhai. So when Nityanand Prabhu approached him, the Madhai and Jagai were very, offensive to them, offensive to Nityanand Prabhu. And Madhai, in fact, he smashed Nityanand Prabhu with a pot, a earthen pot. And Nityanand Prabhu was, he was bleeding from his head, bleeding, and it was very offensive. They were very offensive to Nityanand. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to, kill this person. Mahaprabhu came as a devotee, but still, when that happened, he wanted to, just show his real identity. Who is he? And he invoked his Sudarshan Chakra and he wanted to kill this Jagai and Madhai. But Nityanand Prabhu stopped Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That no, in this incarnation, you have come to deliver them. You have to kill their demoniac mentality, but not kill them, not kill the demon. So he saved them. And then Prabhupada gives this another example of Lord Jesus Christ. Lord Jesus Christ, he was doing the same work as what Nityanand Prabhu was doing, inviting everyone to give up their, miserable condition and engage in the service of the Lord. And what was result to him? He was crucified on the cross. And while he was crucified, he didn't even complain. In fact, he was praying for everyone. He was praying for the next person he was crucified along with. He was another criminal. He was praying for him. And he prayed for the people who crucified them. He said, "My Lord, please forgive them. They do not know what they are doing. Please forgive them." So these are the examples. And then we can see the life of Srila Prabhupada. His Guru Maharaj, he ordered him to go to English speaking world and spread this message of love of Godhead. And he came at the age of 70 in the cargo ship, suffering 2 heart attacks and coming to a a lonely place in America where he was not welcome. He a sannyasi in renounced order of life with the high standards of devotional practices. He was in the place where nothing was favorable to him, but he stayed there without any money, and he just kept on. He was asked to preach, and he started preaching. And for some considerable time, for a year, nothing was happening. But then, Krishna, after 1 year, he reciprocated to his preaching activity. And now look, there's a revolution in all over the world that his message, what Prabhupada wanted to spread, is spreading in every town and village of the earth. So this preaching activity, it is the most beneficial activity we can do for the Lord. But in that activity, many difficulties come. But when the difficulties come, the devotees are never discouraged to give up the devotional service. Here, the another example of Prahlad Maharaj is given. He was, tortured like anything by his father, but he never gave up his devotional service. Similarly, devotees, when they are preaching, so many difficulties come, but they never give up. They do not say, "My Lord, why this is happening to me? I am your devotee." Says, "My Lord, this is your desire. I will do my service, whatever you ask me to do, but the result is in your hand. Whatever you decide, let your will be prevailed." And he never gives up the devotional service. And Prabhupada mentions, like I said, because bhakti is perfect. The devotees never give up the devotional service. But the other process, like dhyana and karma and yoga, if any difficulties come, the sadhaka of that process, they can easily give up that process. So yogis, they can come out of that yoga practice, even with a little, has a little disturbance by the some modes of material nature, they can easily give up. The Gyanis, they can, anything unfavorable happens in the life, they lose their faith. Uh, and the Karmis, similar thing. Uh, if they are working for some project and some difficulties come, they easily give up. But the devotees, they never give up uh, the devotional path. The shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu famously, he composed the Shikshastakam, and in Shikshastakam, there's a last verse, which is the it really, shows the heart of the devotee. But Mahaprabhu prays, Ashlishavam padartam pinashtumam adashnan marmahatam karatuva yatha tathava vidadatu lampato mat prananathastu sevanapara. Lord Chaitanya says, "My Lord, I am your devotee. I am surrendered to you. Now you can either please me by giving me a hard embrace." When the Lord meets, he meets his devotee and gives him an embrace. And that is very pleasing. Either you can, make me happy by giving me a very hard embrace, or you can break my heart by not being present in front of me. The pain of a devotee is that when he is not able to see the Lord, when he is not able to take the darshan of the Lord and his devotees. He says, "My Lord, you can either you can make me happy by giving me your embrace, or you can make me broken-hearted by not being present in front of me. In whatever condition, I am your devotee birth after birth. Whether you make me happy or you make me miserable, it doesn't matter. I'm your devotee birth after birth." And this is also the mood of the gopis, the topmost devotee. Whether the Krishna, gives him the pleasure in the Ras Lila, or Krishna, makes them to cry piteously for hundreds of years, they never give up the devotion service of the Lord. So this is the glory of a devotee and devotional service. That once our heart is cleansed by bhakti, by the devotional service, the devotee never gives up the shelter of the Lord. And then Prabhupada concludes the purport by this example of a traveler. The traveler, in a modern day, we can call it, the immigrant. They go out, they leave the house and go for the earning wealth, for some mission, and he's very homesick. He remembers his home. His lot of difficulties are encountered, and he wants to, he's remembering his home. Similarly, when the devotee goes out for the preaching, a lot of difficulties are suffered. But that traveler or a devotee, he just remembers the house, and he gets his solace. And after his mission, when he comes back the home, he forgets all the difficulties. You must have, in our day-to-day life, we say when we travel, when we go leave our house and go to leave the country and come back after some time, no matter how wherever we went, how difficult was the journey, when we come back home, we just come and says, Ash, I'm home now. So when we come back home, we forget all our difficulties. So personally, when we go for the yatra, and we have this beautiful temple in Mayapur. We go, from time to time to Mayapur, and as soon as I enter the gate of Mayapur complex, in our temple complex, it feels like I'm home. I've reached my home. I'm in my home now. Now it doesn't matter, whatever happens outside. I've just come in the shelter of my Lord, and then I feel so, my heart gets such a soothing, embrace of the whole dham, of the all devotees, and taking the darshan of the Lord, taking prasadam, chanting in the presence of the devotee, hearing class, and meeting with the devotees. I feel like not feel like, but actually it is home. So maybe someday we'll go together in Mayapur, and maybe you'll also have the same pleasure of that feeling. So this is Shloka 6 now. And now from Shloka 7, now Parikshit Maharaj starts asking the question. And my dear devotees, you please remember these questions. Parikshit Maharaj probably knows the answer to all these questions, but he is asking on our behalf. And some of the questions, they are so thoughtful. Probably we would not be able to ask these questions because we are not on the level of Parikshit Maharaj. But for our own benefit, he is asking these wonderful, wonderful questions. So please hear these questions very nicely. The answers are not given in this chapter. Answer is from the following chapter. In this whole chapter is just the questions, nothing else. So please hear these questions very nicely. So maybe someone can start the Shloka 7 now. Translate and purport.
Do you have the writing, Prabhuji? I can read.
Yeah. If we can
Sure,
share the screen, then.
Okay. Mayapur Mataji, would you like to share if it is?
Yeah, if screen is shared, then I can. Yeah.
Okay, maybe let me try here.
What chapter is it, Prabhuji?
I got it, Prabhuji. I'm going to sharing it.
I've got the book here.
Okay. Visible, Prabhuji, now we can. So, Anthony Prabhu, you can read this one now, and Shobhanti, you can read the next one after this.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
What chapter is it? I can't see it all on the screen. It's only half.
Yeah, so chapter is second canto, chapter 8, verse 7.
Second canto. Well, I've just got first canto. It's only half come on the screen.
Yeah, so Prabhuji, yeah, you can read it from now. Here, I'll manage the screen now.
Oh, it's coming. Wait a second. Look at it. A little. So it's come a bit. It's not all on the same page. It's some of it you can't see.
Okay, just a second, Prabhu. If, is it any better?
No.
Okay. I don't know, Prabhuji, I think
Is it visible to us, Rohit?
yeah, it's visible to you, Mataji. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. it's
Yeah.
Okay. Then probably you're on the mobile and possibly the mobile screen is not giving you the full view.
No, it's computer screen, but
Computer is it? Okay, okay.
yeah, but it's just like some of the sides of it we can't see.
Okay, let me just make it little.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, that's fine.
Any better, Anthony Prabhu?
It's just like an inch of each side, half an inch of each side you can't see, so I don't know what it's going to say.
Okay.
It is. That's it. Yeah, that's better, Prabhuji.
Okay. Is it readable to you now? You can...
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so translation. O learned Brahmana, the transcendental spirit soul is different from the material body. Does he acquire the body accidentally or by some cause? Will you kindly explain this, for it is known to you? Purport. Maharaj Parikshit, being a typical devotee, is not only satisfied by confirming the importance of hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam from the representative of Brahmaji by disciplic succession, but he is still more anxious to establish the philosophical basis of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the science of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such, all questions that may arise in the mind of a serious student must be cleared by the statements of the authority. A person on the path of devotional service may inquire from his spiritual master all about the spiritual position of God and the living beings. From the Bhagavad Gita, as well as from the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is known that qualitatively the Lord and the living beings are one. The living being in the conditioned state of material existence is subjected to many transmigrations by continuous changing of the material body. But what are the causes of the material embodiment of the part and parcel of the Lord? Maharaj Parikshit inquires about this very important matter for the benefit of all classes of candidates on the path of self-realization and devotional service to the Lord. Indirectly, it is confirmed that the Supreme Being, the Lord, makes no such material change of body. He is spiritually whole, with no difference between his body and his soul, unlike the conditioned soul. The liberated living beings who associate with the Lord in person are also exactly like the Lord. Only the conditioned souls awaiting liberation are subjected to change of bodies. How was the process first begun? In the process of devotional service, the first step is to take shelter of the spiritual master and then inquire from the spiritual master all about the process. This inquiry is essential for immunity to all kinds of offenses on the path of devotional service. Even if one is fixed in devotional service like Maharaj Parikshit, he must still inquire from the realized spiritual master all about this. In other words, the spiritual master must also be well versed and learned so that he may be able to answer all these inquiries from the devotee. Thus, one who is not well versed in the authorized scriptures and not able to answer all such relevant inquiries should not pose as a spiritual master for the matter of material gain. It is illegal to become a spiritual master if one is unable to deliver the disciple.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Andhari Babu. Thank you so much. Translation again. O learned Brahmana, the transcendental spirit soul is different from the material body. Does he acquire the body accidentally or by some cause? Will you kindly explain this, for it is known to you? So such a wonderful question that Parikshit Maharaj is presenting. So Parikshit Maharaj, he says, yes, I know, we all know that we are not this body, we are a spirit soul. So the while we are in this condition world, the various bodies that we are getting, do we get this body by accident, or there is some cause, there is some algorithm, or there is some reason, what kind of bodies we get? And he says, could you please explain this to me? So very wonderful questions. I'm sure we all have these questions at one point or the other in our life. So this question, it is posed by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukdev Goswami. And Prabhupada, he so wonderfully, establishes or reveals the mood of Parikshit Maharaj and Shukdev Goswami. That Parikshit Maharaj, he is accepting the authority of Shukdev Goswami. So Prabhupada mentions in the purport that this is the first requirement. Those who are serious on the path of devotional service, the first requirement is to accept the authority of a guru. One should approach a guru and inquire from him. Otherwise, on our own, we'll be nowhere. Prabhupada uses this very beautiful line. I'll read that line again. This inquiry is essential for immunity to all kinds of offenses on the path of devotional service. If we try to perform our devotional service on our own, we'll be committing so many offenses. And then we will not be able to complete our journey nicely. For example, say if you want to become a pharmacist, or or a doctor, and he says, I don't need any teacher, I don't need any authority. I will just read the book, or and I will with my own intelligence, I'll try to mix some chemicals and I'll make a medicine. Uh, uh, there is a great danger, some chemicals you don't know how they work. You might create some explosion and you'll kill yourself, or you start operating a patient, start giving them the medicine. If they come to you, you think you're a doctor and you give them some medicine, and you do not, and you're just with your imagination and give some medicine, you'll be harming them more than helping them. So Prabhupada mentions here that the first thing which is required on path of devotional services is the accepting the authority of a guru. One should accept a guru, and then inquire from the guru. Just accepting is not enough. Accepting guru, and putting his picture on the altar and worshipping him, and giving all the respects and going and offering a obeisance, that's very good. It's very nice respectful things. But then the disciple should also inquire from the Gurudev, could you please explain this, and when he explains, you have so many questions, you ask those questions. And that's how that is the proper way of getting the knowledge. And then Prabhupada, he's so categorically explaining the responsibility of guru also. So I'll just read those lines again. Thus, one who is not well versed in the authorized scripture and not able to answer all such relevant inquiries should not pose as a spiritual master for the matter of material gain. It is, because gurus are so very well respected, and they're offered so much comforts and benefits. People like to, pose themselves as guru, and get those benefit. But here, Prabhupada mentions this is very offensive. We are abusing, this innocent people, of their nice sentiment, nice mood. Uh, if you do not have sufficient knowledge or sufficient ability to lead the innocent people, then one should not pose as the guru. And then Prabhupada writes one, very, very wonderful line here. He says, "It is illegal to become a spiritual master if one is unable to deliver the disciple." Uh, the guru, being a guru, is a very great responsibility. Uh, so that there are, in our Shastra it is said, the guru should not accept a disciple if he is not able to deliver him from the cycle of birth and death. And similar instruction is there even for the parents. The parents, they should not have children if they are not qualified enough and they are not sufficiently equipped enough to deliver the child that they are inviting in their family. If they are not able to deliver their child from the cycle of birth and death. It is also for the husband also. Husband accepts the wife. So husband also should not accept a wife if is not able to give all the facility and the and the facilities and all the required things to deliver from the cycle of birth and death. So these are some of the very responsible relationships one acquires. It is up to us whether to acquire the relationship or not. So this is here, it is mentioned about the guru. And that guru should be very careful. That first he should acquire, be qualified enough, be strong and have very, very spotless character, and qualified enough in the science of love of God, and then he can accept the guru, accept the disciples. So being accepting the guru is the first requirement. And then Parikshit Maharaj, he asked these questions about whether it is by accident or by the by some algorithm. So Prabhupada mentions in the beginning of purport that this is a very scientific inquiry. Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes here, he says, Srimad Bhagavatam is the science of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as such, all questions that may arise in the mind of a serious student must be cleared by the statements of the authority. So Bhagavatam, and for the matter of the whole Vedic culture, it is all based on the proper science. And in the science, the students may have inquiry. He definitely will have questions. And those questions should be resolved by the proper authority. Bhagavatam and the whole Vedic culture is not based on blind faith. In fact, all the people, they are expected to ask the question. The students are expected to ask the questions. Questions are very good sign, healthy sign of acquiring the knowledge, because that means you're thinking. And you're applying, when you apply certain things in your life, there's questions. So that question should be raised, and the Bhagavatam gives the proper authoritative answer to all the inquiries that student may pose. So Bhagavatam is not a book of faith, blind faith, is the book of science. So wonderfully Prabhupada writes here, I repeat it again. Srimad Bhagavatam is the science of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as such, all questions that may arise in the minds of a serious student must be cleared by the statements of the authority. Prabhupada says statements of the authority. It's not that, I said that's why you accept blind faith. No, it should be authority. And Bhagavatam is the authority. So let's move on. Shloka 8 now. So Shobhant, if you like to read, shall I share the screen now? Okay, I'm sharing the screen now. You can read Mataji now.
Yes, please. Yeah. Hare Krishna, everybody. Translation. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose abdomen the lotus stem supported, is possessed of a gigantic body according to his own caliber and measurement, then what is the specific difference between the body of the Lord and those of common living entities? Purport. One should not just now it is okay. Yeah. One should note how Maharaja Parikshit intelligently put questions before his spiritual master for scientific understanding of the transcendental body of the Lord. It has been described in many places before this that the Lord assumed a gigantic body like that of Karnadakshaya Vishnu, from whose hair pores innumerable universes have generated. The body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is described as sprouting the lotus from within which all the planets of the universe remain. And at the top of the stem is the lotus flower on which Lord Brahma is born. In the creation of the material world, the Supreme Lord undoubtedly assumes a gigantic body, and living entities also get bodies, big or small, according to the necessity. For example, an elephant gets gigantic body according to its needs, and so also an ant gets its body according to its needs. Similarly, if the personality of Godhead assumes a gigantic body to accommodate the universe of the planets of a particular universe, there is no difference in the principle of assuming or accepting a particular type of body in terms of necessity. A living being and the Lord cannot be distinguished simply by the difference in the magnitude of the body. So the answer depends on the specific significance of the body of the Lord as distinguished from the body of the common living beings. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Mataji. Translation again. So Parikshit Maharaj is asking, if the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose abdomen the lotus stem sprouted, is possessed of a gigantic body according to his own caliber and measurement, then what is the specific difference between the body of the Lord and those of common living entities? Now this question itself, is so wonderful. We may not have, even occurred in our, tiny brain, that whether do we have capacity to even ask this kind of question. So Parikshit Maharaj, is asking this question, that the Lord has a gigantic body and we also have a body. What is the difference between the Lord's body and my body? So the question is asked here, but the answers are there in the following chapter. So we have to, wait, when the answer comes. So Prabhupada mentions in the purport that a devotee, for him, it is very natural to ask this kind of question. Because on his journey, in his devotional service, when he reads Srimad Bhagavatam, he gets this information. Sometimes, before we start our devotional journey, we do not have all this information. Personally, me, when I started reading Bhagavatam, I knew there is only one Vishnu. But when I read Bhagavatam, actually there are three Vishnu. There's a Mahavishnu, which is also called Karanadaksha Vishnu. And then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, then there's a Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So it is all there in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And from the pores of Karanadaksha Vishnu or Mahavishnu, from his body, the universes are generated. Can you imagine, his one pore of his body, it is so big that the whole universe can, comes out from there. Can you imagine, how many universes are coming from his body? In our body, can you count how many holes we have? So that many, the universes are coming from the Mahavishnu's body. And can you imagine how big is his body? And the universe are coming out when he's exhaling, the universe is come out. And when he's inhaling, the universe is again go back into his body. So within one breath, the universes are created and annihilated. Can you imagine the power of Mahavishnu? And then, the Garbhodakshay Vishnu, then Mahavishnu again expands as the Garbhodakshay Vishnu and enters into each universe. And in the every universe, he's lying in the Garbhodak ocean, and from his navel, a lotus is sprouted. So there's a stem, and then there's a lotus flower on the top. And Lord Brahma is situated on top of that lotus flower. And Lord Brahma, he's also, question is being asked about Lord Brahma in the next few shloka. And then in the stem, stem is sustaining all the 14 planetary systems of this universe. So even Garbhodakshay Vishnu is a big personality. And then these are big personalities, and then there is a very small personality of Kshirodakshay Vishnu. He stays in the one planet called Kshirosagar, and then he expands himself into so many forms that he's there in every atom. So we talked about Mahavishnu, and now Kshirodakshay Vishnu is so small, he's there even within the atom and in between the space of the atom. He's there everywhere. So these are the various kinds of bodies. So Parikshit Maharaj is asking, what is the difference between my body and the Lord's body? He's very big, he's also very small. And I have certain body. What is the difference between these two bodies? So beautiful questions that he's asking. And Shukdev Goswami, is going to answer these questions, in detail, in the forthcoming chapters. Now in Shloka 9, now Parikshit Maharaj is asking the question about Lord Brahma. So he asked about Garbhodakshay Vishnu. He says, from his lotus stem, the lotus flower is sprouting, and Brahma is there. So who is Brahma? So he's asking the questions about Lord Brahma. I think next few shlokas, they are all questions only. So let's go till shloka 14. So some devotee, one of us can, read shloka 9 till 14 together. Anyone? Okay, I'll read it myself.
If you put it on, Prabhuji, I'll do the read.
Fine, Prabhuji. Okay, I'll put it.
Okay.
Go on, Prabhuji, yes.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Translation. Brahma, who was not born of a material source, but of the lotus flower coming out of the navel abdomen of the Lord, is the creator of all those who are materially born. Of course, by the grace of the Lord, Brahma was able to see the form of the Lord. Report. The first living creature, Brahma, is called Ajya because he did not take his birth from the womb of a mother materially born. He was directly born from the bodily expansion of the lotus flower of the Lord. Thus, it is not readily understandable whether the body of the Lord and that of Brahma are of the same quality or different. This must also be clearly understood. One thing is, however, certain, Brahma was completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord because after his birth, he could create living beings by the Lord's grace only, and he could see the form of the Lord. Whether the form seen by Brahma is of the same quality as that of Brahma is a bewildering question. And Maharaj Parikshit wanted to get clear answers from Sri Sukadev Goswami. Translation. Please also explain the personality of Godhead, who lies in every heart as the super soul and as the Lord of all energies, but is untouched by his external energy. Undoubtedly, the form of the Lord is who was seen by Brahma must be transcendental. Otherwise, how could he simply look upon the creative energy without being touched? It is understood also that the same Purusha lies in the heart of every living unit entity and also requires proper explanation. O learned Brahmana, it was formerly explained that all the planets of the universe with their respective governors are situated in the different parts of the gigantic body of Virat Purusha. I have also heard that the different planetary systems are supposed to be the gigantic body of Virat Purusha. But what is their actual position? Will you please explain that? Also, please explain the duration of time between creation and annihilation, and that of other subsidiary creations, as well as the nature of time indicated by the sound of past, present, and future. Also, please explain the duration and measurement of life of the different living beings known as the demigods, the human beings, etc., in different planets of the universe. Purport: past, present, and future are different features of time to indicate the duration of life for the universe and all its paraphernalia, including the different living beings in different planets. O purest of the Brahmanas, please also explain the cause of the different duration of time, both short and long, as well as the beginning of time, following the course of action. Then again,
So no, sorry, we'll stop here. Sorry, we'll stop here.
Okay.
The 14th, we'll start from the 14th next time. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, the shloka 10, sorry, 9. So, Parikshit Maharaj is asking, Brahma was not born of material source, but of the lotus flower coming out of the navel abdomen of the Lord, is the creator of all those who are materially born. Of course, by the grace of the Lord Brahma, grace of the Lord Brahma was able to see the form of the Lord. So now Parikshit Maharaj is asking about Lord Brahma. The Lord Brahma is Aja. Aja means who has no material mother or father. Here in this world, for anyone to be born, he requires mother and a father. But Brahma is directly born from the body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And he creates so many living entities. He designs and creates the bodies of humans and all the living entities, all animals, plants, aquatics, everyone. So what is the difference between the Lord Brahma's body and our body? So that is also, I never asked these questions ever, but Parikshit Maharaj is asking this question to Shukdev Goswami. And then he's asking, please also explain the personality of Godhead who lies in every heart as the super soul and as the Lord of all energies, but is untouched by his external energy. So now, dear devotees, this is, very minute, very intelligent questions if you think. Here it is, we are told we are conditioned in this world because we are being controlled by the external energy of the Lord, the three modes of material nature. But Lord, He's everywhere, and as a Paramatma, He's so small, so minute. He's there in everybody's heart, in every atom, but still He is not touched by the external energy. How is this possible? She's asking that question. That Lord is always not affected by the illusory or external energy. Then he's asking, O Lord, O learned Brahmana, it was formally explained that all the planets of the universe with their respective governors are situated in the different parts of the gigantic body of Virat Purusha. I've also heard that the different planetary systems are supposed to be in the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. But what is their actual position? Will you please explain that? So now Parikshit Maharaj is asking about the Virat Purusha, that all these various demigods and planets, they are situated within this body of the Lord. Can you please explain in detail, how these various planetary systems are situated? And then he's asking, also please explain the duration of time between creation and annihilation, and that of other subsidiary creations, as well as the nature of time indicated by the sound of past, present, and future. Also, please explain the duration and measurement of life of the different living beings known as the demigods, the human beings, etc., in different planets of the universe. Now, this is, really cosmology question. Our scientists are also asking the same question about when did the creation begin, and where are we exactly we are, when is everything is going to end. So, Parikshit Maharaj asking the same question. When did the creation begin? And the time between the creation and annihilation. And he's talking about the subsidiary creation. Within the creation also, there are small creations and annihilations happening. Please explain about that. And then he's talking about the time. The time has a, Prabhupada said, past, present, and future are different features of time to indicate the duration of life for the universe and all its paraphernalia, including the different living beings in different planets. So time, it has this feature of past, present, and future, and time is also very relative onto different planetary system. For us, the for 1 year of our earthly calculation, 6 months of our earthly calculation is the 1 day in the heavenly planet. So in the heavenly planets, their 12 hours is our 6 months. Oh, sorry, their 24 hours is our 6 months. So time is very relative. And for us, the 100 years is our full lifetime. So we are child and we grow up and then go to school and get married and children and and then eventually die. So our average age is about 80, 70, 80, 100 years. So we think, oh, one lifetime is 100 years. But then you look at from the point of view the insects which are born in the night, by the sun rises in the morning, they're dead. So for them the whole lifetime is just one night. So for them the time duration is so small, but for them it is always so big. So time is a very relative. So Parikshit Maharaj is talking about, asking the questions about the time, the time factor. And finally in Shloka 13 is asking, O purest of the Brahmanas, please also explain the cause of the different duration of time, both short and long, as well as the beginning of time following the course of action. So what is the cause of this relativity of time? Somewhere it is big, somewhere it is small. For an insect who lives just one night, time is very small. For the demigods, is very big. And what to speak of Lord Brahma? He lives 311 trillion years. So for him the time is very big. And then Parikshit Maharaj is asking as well as the beginning of time following the course of action. Where did this time begin? When was this first second created? So where is the time? What is the beginning of time? So he's asking those questions. So these are very same mind twisting and very hi-fi questions are there. But this is, as we said earlier, these are scientific questions. These are actually the questions devotees are interested in. Not the other questions like which has got no significance, doesn't add any value into our life. These are the questions which can add value into our life. So anyway, I took some extra time today because I wanted to finish till Shloka 13. We'll carry forward next time from Shloka 14 onwards. So anybody's any questions or comments, we can take it now.
Just one question, Prabhuji.
Yes.
There's been no beginning of time, has there? As Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita 2:12, never has there a time when we did not exist. So therefore, there's been no beginning of time, no?
No, Prabhuji, what Krishna is saying in that shloka is that never was a time
Uh-huh.
when all these people did not exist.
Yeah.
So what he's saying,
Not you or I, not all these
yeah,
beings.
all living entities, including me and the Lord,
Yeah.
we are all eternal.
Yeah, so there's been no beginning of time, has there?
No, he's talking about there is no beginning of the soul.
Yeah, the soul, that's what I'm on about.
Yeah, but the time, the soul in when it is in the spiritual world,
Yeah, there's no beginning, no?
there is no
No end.
beginning.
No
But when
end.
the spirit soul, when it comes into the material world, then is
Uh-huh.
under the control of time.
Oh, right. So there's like this the different world, a spiritual world and the
Yes,
material
yes,
world.
exactly. Yeah. So when you come into the
Uh-huh.
material world, then you come under the control of time.
Uh-huh.
But when you are
Right.
liberated, then you're out of the,
Right.
control
And
of
then
time.
there's no beginning and no end. Yeah. It gets a bit
So
cosmic, doesn't it?
yes. So either we are in the material world or the spiritual world. We are eternally existing.
Mhm.
So that's what Krishna means, that there never was a time when I did not exist or you did not exist.
Uh-huh.
So he's implying we are eternal. I hope it helps, Dani Prabhu.
Pardon? Thanks, Prabhuji. I get a bit confused at times.
Yes, that's why we have to ask questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So what I mean is it worth worrying about the material existence? Because eventually it gets a bit how can I say it? Confusing.
Yes, Prabhuji, material existence, we should not be, we should be worrying as much as that how do I live my life in such a way
That I can
that
get to
this
the
material
spiritual world
existence does not bother me, and I can get out of this material world,
and go to the spiritual world. Yeah.
go to the
Yeah.
spiritual world.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that much we should be worried about.
Yeah.
But beyond that,
yeah.
that I will control the universe, and
Yeah.
it's like a a prisoner trying to get out of the jail.
Yeah. Yeah. We
So
will have to.
he will try to understand, when he want to escape the jail, he'll understand, when is
Yeah.
these, how many soldiers are there, how many policemen are there, where
Yeah.
is the lock, where is the door. So all these things, he is worried about it. But he's not worried about, how many parameters are there, So only things he's
Yeah.
worried about,
Uh-huh.
how can I escape from the jail? That much he's worried
And
about.
get back to
Other things he's not worried about,
get back to the pure spiritual world. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you so much, Prabhu, Anthony Prabhu, for asking
Thanks,
questions.
Prabhuji.
Okay. So if there's no questions, we stop now. So thank you very much for joining today, and we'll meet again on next Sunday. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki.